Nasreen asked me to kind of go over the curriculum, the CurricuNet, and how you would do a course. And I thought what I would do is pull up one of my courses and just kind of walk you through the boxes so you don't just see something in blank, but you actually see kind of an example of something. So I'm going to do some screen share. Vicki is here with me, and I got your email, Vicki. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Those are some of the
He gave me
areas.
some reminders to make sure you talk about these things, and
Thank you.
always my helper. So, and for those of you who don't know who I am, because I see a few names in here that I don't recognize so much, my name's Eric Narveson. I teach history as my field, and I'm the chair of the curriculum committee. This is my second year doing this with CurricuNet. I used to be the chair 6 years, well, many years ago now, before CurricuNet and the BC days, I guess you might call it. So when we used to do everything on paper. And so I have a lot of experience with curriculum. CurricuNet came on while I was not chair, and I was just a faculty member doing the same thing as you guys. So I've had a lot of pickup time and speed to catch up on how CurricuNet works. So I'm going to give you the perspective from the faculty's point of view, from a faculty member's point of view, that you want to update or create a new course. What are the boxes? What do all those boxes mean? And which ones are the absolutely most important to you as someone who's proposing a new course or an update? So I'm going to share my CurricuNet. I opened up my CurricuNet already, and I'll show you that. And so I'm going to kind of work from there. So you'll see when you go in, now mine's a slightly different because I've been given super user permissions, so I could go into anybody's course. But I'm looking at my own here, and it will say my courses in this dot here. And I'm going to pull up courses that are active, in draft, or in review. And here's all the history courses. And I'm just going to pick one that I've written that I teach. It's a U.S. military history, just to show you how the form works and that sort of thing. So as I go along, if you got a question, the chat might be difficult because it's harder for me to get into that chat when I'm doing the screen share. So you could just feel free to ask me if something doesn't make sense.
Eric, this is Renee. I can monitor the chat and let you know when there's questions out there, if that's helpful. Okay.
Thank you. That'd be great. So when you pull up a course, you're going to see this, a history of all the various sign-offs, and it stacks from the bottom. So as you go back in time, I updated this course in 2020. You can see that I launched it, and then you work your way up the screen, you'll see all the various people that required or optionally have added to how the course progresses along. And there's another way to look at it here in status. This is actually a cleaner way to look at it. Now it goes down, okay, but these levels of sign off once you've launched the course. So what I'm looking at here is, well, this is just a graphic saying that all of these things have been checked off. That's why it's green, or the little green bar. Otherwise you'd have a blue or an orange bar. But this is a history of just the proposal, the course itself. Let's go into the actual course, the course outline. Now what you're doing is creating what sometimes curriculum people call the core, or the COR. You're creating the course outline of record. This is what the public sees. This is what the state chancellor's office reviews. Every course on this campus has a COR, and it has various elements, some of which you are absolutely responsible for as faculty, and others are more technical and even budget related and things like that, pieces of information. cores or course outlines of record can appear in all sorts of ways, depending upon whatever the college does, as long as it has the information. We have adopted, I should say, we have adopted Curricunet, which is a company that does this stuff for the colleges in the state of California. And last I heard, Curricunet is it's over half the colleges or districts in the community college system use Curricunet, including the state chancellor's office. It was one of the reasons why we adopted Curricunet, so that we could easily transfer our information and so on to the chancellor's office. As you know, no program is perfect. There are people been throwing about other ideas to run curriculum, and and we'll find, if we had adopted one of those, we'd find mistakes or problems in that one. But Curricunet, has been improving over the years, and they are very much interested in keeping us as a customer. So this is the program we use, and it's the one we use as a district. So San Jose City College uses the same program. So I'm going to assume maybe you have gone into Curricunet, or at least you have the permission to get in, but you may not have ever had to do an update on a course and so on. So I'm going to kind of do this at a very basic level here. So it's telling me, here's the name of my course and the proposal history. It's an active course here. It tells you the status. This happens to be the last time it was looked at, was last fall in 2020, to do the DE supplement because of the requirement of the pandemic. But I can still take you through the course outline. So normally the online supplement is going to be further down the list here on these dark gray boxes, but they're all interactive. They're all clickable boxes. And so the main is telling you about the course. It's kind of like the front page is what it's like. There we go. I'm adjusting something here. There. The discipline, the course number, by the way, in the course number, we always use a 3-digit number. So if your course is a 2-digit number in reality, like 40, then you put a 0 in front of it. Every discipline has its own 4-letter designation for it. That's accommodate the chancellor's office. You got the course title and a short title for the purposes of either in the catalog, course title. Short title is for scheduled classes. You're telling that the justification is just simply you're putting in here, why are you doing this update or new course? It doesn't go to the chancellor's office. They don't care. But think of it this way. You're writing this justification. You're writing a message to us, the college, in the future, that the next time we come around to this course, say, hopefully around 6 years, you can read that that justification box and see, okay, well, why did we do it last time? Why did we update it? Or why did we write this course? You're writing to yourself in the future, or whoever's going to update it in the future. The catalog description is quite literally that. It's what we'll read in the catalog, is the course description. The short schedule is what goes into the schedule of classes. And so you can choose those. You're going to write these things as faculty. You do want to make your short schedule description reflect what's in the catalog description. Don't put something different in that isn't in the catalog description. You're just shortening it. The first semester intended to offer, what that means is this version that you're coming up with. So for example, I'll use this class as an example. I've been teaching this class for over 10 years now, and I will update it soon, probably in the next year or so. And when I put in this first semester intended to offer, what that means is the new version of it, the version I'm coming up with, the updated version, will be effective on that semester. It doesn't mean that you can't teach it until that time. It just means that your updated version of it won't be effective until that semester. That you may be writing a course that replaces an old course or can be used in a same as situation. And that's usually more for developmental courses, or if you're shifting out a program, you're kind of rewriting a program, you need to be able to give an equal course. First, it's mainly for transcription, excuse me, transcripts. Students will have taken the class a while back, maybe. And so can it still be used for a degree, or is it equal to this, same as, or replaces? This is a little more uncommon, but it happens. And as I go along, again, Renee has offered to help out, so thank you. You are the author of the course. You're the one who is going to launch the course. Do you want colleagues to be able to add to it, to also contribute to the update of the course? And so you would put in co-contributors. And fortunately, you don't have to remember exactly how to spell your colleague's name or something. There is literally a list here that you can scroll through. And it just so happens Danny Allen is a colleague of mine. He's an adjunct faculty in history, and so I put him down. I put all the historians down for this, so that they could add to it or look at it, that kind of thing. So that's what co-contributor is about. It's important because that you only have access if you're a co-contributor or the author. Units and hours just tells you how many lecture units or lab units you have for that course.
Eric,
Yes.
remind them when to add the co-contributor.
Oh, you should do it as you're writing the course before you launch it, right? Is that what you meant?
Yes, yes, because it cannot be added after.
They can't be added after the fact, yeah. So
After
before you
that,
hit that launch button, make sure you want to know who's on that list, who's added to the contributor list. Units, we'll go again, very basic. The way you define a unit is basically how many hours does it meet per week in a typical regular semester. A regular semester is considered 18 weeks, but we teach in 16 weeks. So what does that mean? That's why your course, when you actually teach a lecture class and it meets, say, it's a 3-unit class and you meet twice a week, it's a little more than an hour and a half. You wonder, why does the number end, like in my case, 9:15 to 10:35? It's because we are counting the minutes to meet a 16-week semester when it is calculated by the state as an 18-week semester. So that's why you see these weird start times and end times to courses, because we've compressed our calendar, but we're still meeting the number of hours that are necessary to meet a 3-unit lecture course or whatever it is. But that's the rule of thumb. Essentially, 3 units is 3 hours of lecture per week. 3 lab units, or a lab unit, would be, you just multiply by 3. So for 1 unit of lab is equal to 3 hours of lab time per week. And that's why we have this on the boxes here: lecture units, lab units, and then the total contact hours, because you got to add up your lab time and your lecture time to make it to add up correctly. So this is why if you have a combination lab lecture course, the hours might come up really weird for you. And by the way, we can break down units down to half. You could go, a full 1 unit or 1.5, but we don't go any smaller than that. So don't give us courses that are like, well, I think I will do 1.25 units. No, you won't, because we don't cut the bread that thin. So only in half unit increments. And then there are some cases, this box just simply tells you, what if you need to go beyond 3 lab hours for 1 unit of lab? There are some transferring universities that will say, no, we don't accept 3 hours of lab per week. That's too little. We want 4. So you may have to add in a 4th hour in order to satisfy transfer for it to be acceptable. This usually occurs in the arts. You'll see this happen a lot. Poor Rachel Lazo has this problem where art classes have to have 4 hours of lab time. We need to justify it. Why are you asking the students to be there for a 4th hour?
I just want to find out. God fucking damn.
Most importantly is your content. This is the next box, lab and lecture content. And there are 2 different boxes, one for lab and one for lecture. Here's the content of the course. In this case, like I said, it's U.S. military history. So you can see it's primarily just wars that we have, the United States has experienced. But yeah, there we go. I knew I had more. I'll just leave it at that for a moment. But please put them in some kind of logical outline. You don't have to do it exactly the way I did it. I could have had these main headings Roman numerals instead of Arabic numerals. I could have had ABCD, just some outline form. It shows to the state and to other colleges and universities, what are the main headings, what are the subheadings, and so on. The main thing we look for is consistency. If you're gonna capitalize everything, looks like I did, then capitalize everything. If you're gonna not capitalize, then not capitalize, but you get the idea. You're putting in your content not just for yourself, but what if someone else is going to teach this course? You're providing this to your colleagues, even ones that haven't been hired yet. Here's what the content of the course is about. So always there's been questions to me about how detailed do I need to get in the lecture content. You don't want to get too deep and too detailed, because then you're tying your own hands. So you want to make sure you hit, that there are certain big topics to hit, and maybe subheadings, but you don't have to go down into like, on day 3, I will talk about this. No, you don't. It's not like a lesson plan. It's just the content of the course. Sometimes this is driven by outside organizations that are demanding for their own accreditation. I'm speaking mainly to like nursing and automotive, that content has already been is already driven by somebody outside, and they're already telling them what to put in. Sometimes it's driven by CID, the courses that are required that can go into the CID matrix, I guess you'd call it, but or they're required by the template for an AAT degree, that sort of thing. So there might be some outside factors that'll help or create an outline for you. But that's your course outline. This goes into the record so that people know what's in the course. SLOs, this is, you guys have heard about these over and over. We house the SLOs on the course outline of record. It's technically not legally required by the Chancellor's office, but it is required by accreditation. So we've incorporated it into our course outline of record. And SLOs, we've tried to make them as easy as possible for you to do. And so you're just listing an SLO. Keep in mind, so here's one right here. I say, describe the effect of American military policies on international relations and domestic development. So it reads as the end of a sentence. So always look at this part here. Upon completion of this course, the student should be able to, and then you put in what the SLO is. It's like finishing that sentence. You need an active verb that is measurable, that I can somehow create a test and measure did the student meet that SLO? Not something, so you don't use words like no. The student will know this. Well, how will they know? Because when you take the SLO committee, they're going to look at these verbs and they're going to ask you, is that measurable or not? So you can refer to Bloom's taxonomy. There's great examples of verbs, even at levels of what level of critical thinking do you want them to be able to do? We'll have certain words like analyze or synthesize or describe or relate or compare or, things like this. And you can just think that these, depending upon the verb you choose, there's a certain level of critical thinking. In these cases, these are pretty low level, although this one here, this third one in my case, or fourth one even better, analyze how war is an extension of political and diplomatic policy of the US government. That requires more than just telling me stuff. You're gonna analyze this and figure out how war is essentially an extension of diplomacy. You also put in here SLO maps to the institutional learning outcomes for the college and for the district. You don't have to memorize those. They're in the pull down menu. So when you write this stuff into the box, it will have checkoff boxes, exactly which one do you want to pick, or ones. You could have more than one. So you don't have to memorize what the ILOs are. You just try to find ones that are appropriate to the SLO you're using. So for example, I'm having them describe American military policies. That's a communication ILO. You're telling me stuff. There are other choices of ILOs, but I think all these I put together. Here's one. The compare and contrast how wars were conducted in the past with the present is both telling people stuff, but there's also inquiry and reasoning going on here, and utilizing information to make a case, in this case, an informed decision and take action. So click off the right ILOs, as they're called, institutional learning outcomes, for your student learning outcome. Okay, you have to assess all these. So the rule of thumb is, how many should I do? Well, look at me, I put down 7. That's way ambitious for me. It means I have to test all those. My rule of thumb, or kind of my advice to you as a fellow faculty member, is 3, maybe no more than about 5 or 6, because you got to assess all those. So when I redo this course, I'm probably going to maybe merge a couple of these SLOs together to reduce the number that I have, because the more I put in here, the more I have to assess. So this was a little, this was a little ambitious, but I think I was trying to impress someone or whatever. But anyway, so far so good.
Eric,
Yeah.
why don't you click on one of the blue boxes, because you didn't talk about the assessment methods that are listed.
Oh, so
If you click on one of the blue boxes, it'll show the assessment methods.
right. Okay.
And the
So
ILOs.
here we go. So when you're writing this, here's the assessment methods, which I didn't put down.
Well, probably because you have, this
I
is
have the old version.
right.
Yeah. So I have, mine is out of date. I picked a course that, has the out of date, but you're going to click off. What method are you going to assess this SLO? And you have lots of choices depending upon what you're going to do. Now, if I were to go back and do this one, this SLO is analyze. Okay. So I'm sure I would do that through a essay perhaps, or an exam. It's probably one of the, I'd probably click those 2. And then that way, in one of those ways, I would end up assessing that particular SLO. This course is very, an academic course and so on. You might have a skills course. You might have a like a PE course or something like that, and your choices of assessment may be down in here, a performance, a demonstration of the skill or something like that. If you put other, then you tell us what the other is. So that it's important, how you're going to assess this. And again, all this goes to the SLO committee, and there is a whole nother piece to Curricunet that takes you into SLOs and how to assess those and how to put that information in. But that's not really what the curriculum committee does. We just house this stuff here in the course outline of record. Get out of this. Another piece that's important that you as faculty have to do is methods of evaluation. How are you going to test the students? Not necessarily to assess SLOs, just how are you going to test the students? And so here's your evaluation method. Again, I need to update this because I don't need to have put in other midterms. That was an older version of the program. Today, there would have been a pull down for me. There is a pull down. It'll just allow me to put down exams. But you're putting down there's all sorts of choices. What kind of method of evaluation do you want to use? And then you want to include a critical thinking example. And again, this is probably, I need to update this course because this is written probably not the best way. And you say, here, look I wrote the course and look at this. I've made this kind of a mistake. Write the critical thinking example as if it was an assignment to the class rather than in third person to fellow faculty. So this is almost third person here. I would have just, when I rewrite this course, I'm going to drop all that stuff in front of the quotation marks. I'll simply say, compare the Mexican, Vietnam, and Iraq wars from perspective of, and all those other things. And because this would actually, it is a midterm question I use in the course. And actually, it's a final question that I use. But how are you testing them? And then there needs to be a critical thinking example. Textbooks. Again, this is very important. You want as up to date as you can find textbooks. Our rule of thumb is if it's 5 years is really kind of the tolerable limit to make it a up-to-date textbook. So 2016 or later, we're thinking about it from right now. If you can't find something that's that recent, and this is a good example for you, U.S. military history doesn't produce textbooks every 3 years, every 2 years there's a new edition or something like that. In my case, I have older books, 14 years old or more, and I have to then put down, there's a box that asks you classic or standard, and yes, they are, and then why am I still putting it in here for the course? What's your rationale for recommending this as a so in this case, in this course, there is nothing up to date. Well, there's a new one that's 2011, but that's about as old as I can get. And I need to put a justification for that one now. But the point being is, look, I have about 6, 7 different textbooks. I only assign 2 of them for the course. So the point is, you don't have to use all the textbooks you put into the textbooks learning materials. These are typical, is what you're giving you, typical or acceptable for the course. Because you know how it is, you have freedom to choose which textbook you want as faculty. So maybe your colleague who's also teaching the same course doesn't like the textbook you're using because they have a different style and they want to use this textbook. Well, put it in there. It doesn't mean you have to use it. What you're telling someone is, I'm the expert in this course. These are the appropriate textbooks for this course. That's what the textbooks are. You need at least 3. And realistically, at least 2 of those should be up to date if you can find them. There are some times where you just can't find stuff. Like if you're teaching Shakespeare, you do not need the 2021 version of Shakespeare. It hasn't changed since 1611 anyway, right? So sometimes you can just simply say, this is the best version of, or something like that. Textbooks are important. Many courses have prerequisites that you're building one upon the other. This is like in math and to some extent English, and certainly the hard sciences in the STEM field. You're going to find prerequisites. You need to list what course must you have taken before you can get into this course. And you give the conditions. What grade should they have? C or better is usually our standard, but you're going to have to list the prerequisite to the course if there is one. In my case, there wasn't one. And then if you do have a prerequisite, you're putting in a validation. Why? What is the skills that need to be known, or what is the knowledge base that needs to be had by the students before they can take your course, before they can take this one. Consequently, there's also one here for removal of prerequisite. This is rare. You don't see it too often go through a curriculum committee, but maybe you've pulled a prerequisite. There's no need for that. Oh, what's a co-requisite? So a prerequisite is what you have to take before you enroll in this class. Co-requisite is a course you can take at the same time as this class. So that's the difference between prerequisite and co-requisite. Many of us don't have prerequisites for courses, so we have a advisory. And in here, there's a pull-down menu. I'll show you that. Various RWs, okay? And you can see what they are equivalent to. RW stands for read-write level. So read-write level 3 means that they are eligible for English 1A, or the equivalent of a high school graduate. And all of our introductory courses are usually RW3. Then you can drop below that. RW2 means that they're not quite ready to even get to English 1A. And RW4 means that they have already completed English 1A. Like, for example, English 1B or 1C has an RW4. It's advisory. RW is advisory. What that just means is we give you the advice that you should be able to read and write at this level. It does not keep students out. It's not a prerequisite. But it's what I tell people is, from a faculty perspective, this is an I told you so. When the student can't complete the course, or doesn't get a good grade, a non-passing grade, and you find out later that they dropped, that their abilities, their English reading and writing is, 8th grade level or something, then yeah, this is why you didn't get a good grade, because we recommended that you had this level of English reading and writing. So I kind of call it an I told you so.
Eric.
Yeah.
You missed the math.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the math level. Sorry.
Thank you. Not many use it, but
there's there's the math level. Same kind of thing. What completion of what math course do they need to do or should have done to succeed in this course? This is going to be applicable mostly to, obviously, math, but the sciences and that they're recommending you got to get through this. Most science courses, when they get beyond that introductory course, are probably going to have a built-in prerequisite math requirement of some kind. You won't be probably using advisory math. But again, it's the same kind of thinking. You should be able to do this level of math to be able to succeed in this course. My case, we don't need math in this course that I'm looking at here. Another piece that you are definitely responsible for as faculty is homework. The rule of thumb here, you can see it right at the top, is the hours of homework per lecture unit. This is what is believed that students should be doing about 2 hours of homework for every unit of lecture they're taking. So a typical 3-unit course, 3 times 2 is 6 hours of homework per week. The reality of this as as a teacher and maybe as a former student, that may not occur, okay? but we have to state this, legally state this. And then what kind of homework is it? That's what goes in this box. Textbooks, readings, or maybe a writing assignment, something like that. And again, some kind of critical thinking homework assignment. In this case, I wrote it correctly as if it was something I would have assigned to the students as appropriate to the course. Then there's a method of instruction. These are checkoff boxes. Essentially, how is this course taught? And here's your choices. You're going to be looking primarily at lecture discussion or lecture lab, or possibly just a lab by itself. The other ones are much more rare, tutoring, work experience. And then your grading option. You have some choices here. It could be a pass, no pass, optional pass, no pass, or non-credit stuff, or not even graded. Not graded doesn't usually appear too much. If you want this course to transfer somewhere, you're probably going to need letter grade. But if it's something like a CTE course that it's creating a certificate, it's part of a certificate in which the student will leave with that certificate and probably never transfer these units anywhere, then maybe pass, no pass will work for you. If you put optional pass, no pass, what the default is that means the student is going to take it for a letter grade unless the student asks you for a pass, no pass grade. So you think carefully about the optional pass, no pass, because if they go for that, if a student goes for that option, you need to have then, you have to be prepared to be able to give that kind of grade. My recommendation is for everything that's transferable, just keep it at a letter grade, unless you've got some very unique reason for something different. Yeah.
Before we continue, the little box there, credit by exam.
Thank you. Yeah.
That sucker right there kind of was difficult for me to understand until I got some literature about that. Because that can be it's not very simple looking as it is. It's
right. What did you learn? I'll ask you.
Well, okay.
I know it's in your world that you're going to run into this.
Okay, so let me give an example in automotive. So let's say someone's been working in the field for 10, 20 years, and they want to bypass this introductory automotive course. They could take an exam, okay? It is not allowed to be the same, for instance, final exam as the one we give in class. It has to be a special one.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, okay, if they pass, great, they get to bypass this class. But if they don't and they fail it, I don't think they're allowed to take the regular class. So
they are. That's why. Well, I believe they are, and that's why you create a different test.
So then, if they fail it, they can retake the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why you don't want to give them the final exam for that course, because if they fail the test, they're going to end up taking that course, and they already know it's on the final.
Okay.
But Eric, if they pass, did they get the credits for the course or not? I believe they don't,
yes.
right?
Well, they get credit for meeting the results of that course. You know that you can bypass you're essentially fulfilling the prerequisite, but you don't get the units because you didn't take the course.
The units.
Yeah. The key here is if you do credit by exam, if you click that and you're putting that for this course, then you need to have that exam prepared so that if a student, because a student's going to do it Sarah knows this, in the first week of the class, they're going to say, I believe I already know this course well enough. Please test me in a credit by exam. I see that this course has a credit by exam. Please provide me the test so I can get into the next level course this semester. You know, I'm trying to add it right now, but they say I have to have a proof that I got either the credit by exam or I've taken the previous course. So you need to have that exam ready before the course begins, before the class starts, in case you have students who are going to take the test in order for them to get into another course. In the case of Sarah's classes, you know, they're trying to, they may already have a certain level of Spanish. Through this exam, Sarah will determine whether or not they should be able to move on to the next Spanish class and not waste their time in this lower level one because they already know that stuff. In the same way as Mark just said, I don't need basic automotive if I've been doing the job for 15 years. That's that. So it, again, you'll notice who we're talking about here. These are people who are teaching courses that are certain skill levels. Credit by exam is not that common on most courses, but it's there. And then status, you're checking off boxes here. And sometimes this can appear kind of confusing, but you're looking at, is the status of this course, let me do this pull down. How are you going to use this course? How would a student use this course? Towards an AA degree? Now we perhaps need to update this pull down menu to put in AAT and AST. I think we should be doing that. And I'm sure we will. Can you apply this to a degree or not? You know, that's the NAA. Is this a credit, non-credit course? Or is it even community service, which is pretty rare. But in this case, this course is a transferable course, AAAS applicable. Okay, so if it is, then you're going to check these boxes. Does it have the appropriate prerequisite? Yes, it does. Does it have a graded essay? Yes. The other option is it a skills course of some kind? More like an activity course. You would check that one. I don't know why I have C1 because it should probably be C2 is where I should have clicked that box because usually the combinations are B1 C2 or B2 C1. And so I have the wrong box clicked there. This course definitely needs an update. Are there multiple measures of evaluation employed? More than just simply a quiz, or do you have an essay or something like that? Do you have homework for it? Yes, I do. Does the coursework call for critical thinking? Yes, and I have some examples of it in method evaluation and homework. Is this course of baccalaureate status? Meaning, is it a college level course? And if it is, then click the right boxes. And most commonly, you're going to click the first one and the third one. The third one is saying here, you don't have to prove that it's baccalaureate status. There are similar courses in the CSU system. And that's why you're clicking that box. It's essentially you're grandfathering in this course. You don't have to go and reinvent the wheel in essence and come up with your own justification. But there's other choices here. Career technical course, apprentice courses, could happen in work experience perhaps. Non-career technical course in a major, pretty rare, but it might work for some certificates. If it doesn't have AA status, okay, is it a basic skills course? Like an ESL course or something like that, or a pre-English 1A course, basic skills. You would click how many levels below English 1A it is. What area does it fall in? This is the only areas that it's going to be effective. So if you don't teach reading, writing, math, or ESL, you don't have to worry about this. Basic skills, is it basic or not? Classification, here's your choices. Almost everything we're going to work with and you're probably going to write is a credit course, but there are some other choices that you could explore in that pull down menu if you want. But most of this is kind of things like what we used to call community ed and so on. There's actually a whole bunch in this pull down menu. And then repeatability. The majority of you, the vast majority of you, this is not a worry. You just simply hit A and say that it is a non-active participatory course, cannot be repeated. Student can take it only once for credit. Now, if you're a counselor, you know what I mean. You could take it again for a better grade, but you don't get more units for it. So if it is repeatable, and this is fairly rare, and it's in the arts and the humanities, like performance arts, is where you're going to find this, and also PE, that sort of thing. You can repeat the course to a limit, a total of 4 takes, or 3 takes, or no, I'm sorry, 4 takes, but 3 repeats. And you would put that information in there. If you're confused about repeatability, this is where you're going to end up emailing me, and we'll work that part out. Exactly, I'll explain it to you rather than go into it now, because repeatability just basically doesn't happen too much anymore. It used
Eric,
to, but
there's
not-
10 too.
Yeah, I know. That's why.
Okay.
That's why I was skipping repeatability issue here. Thank you, Vicki. What's the status of this program? Is it a GE course? Will it fit into GE? Is it transferable? Is it created as part of a degree? I clicked all of those. We hope that your course is not just what we call a standalone course, especially in this world today of guided pathways. Every course needs to have a purpose, helps the student move along on their goal for graduation with a degree or certificate. So try to find this course, whatever course you're creating or doing, give it a purpose that helps the student in the big picture. There are standalone courses in the catalog. They're quite rare. They usually are designed to fulfill a certain requirement. What certificate or degree is your course in? If it's part of a degree or certificate. If you have a degree or certificate and you think it's appropriate, put it in there. I did. It's an option in my AAT in history. You may find that other departments, other disciplines may like your course and grab it up and put it into their degree, and you may not even be aware of it. So that usually that awareness comes when this course is going through the curriculum process and you get to tech committee, and all of a sudden you see, that other degrees have been added or certificates have been added on to this. And you're going, yay, now your course is more versatile. Transfer status. This is where you're telling the articulation officer, Laura Garcia, where do we recommend this course be transferred to? To the UC, to the CSU? Does it fit within the major or an elective in a major? You're letting us know. That's basically what this whole box is, this whole tab is here, is for articulation purposes. So you can see for this course, I said it's an elective and a major because this particular course is usually an upper division course in most history programs at universities. So I couldn't really make it the major. CID, there may be a CID number for this course. And I can explain what CID is some other time, but essentially there's the website. You could click right to it and find out how that works, this course ID numbering system. If you have a really basic introductory course that can be general ed, the likelihood is you could probably make it a CID course. And the beauty of that is it's like instant transferability. That means if you have a course that's a CID course, it'll be good in any community college and many of the CSUs, depending upon how they're using the course. So you can look that up. Here's the GE status. If you're proposing this to be GE, click the right box. See, I said for our own district, for our own degree, D6. I said send it to the CSU for D6. And for IGETC, which is the UC Systems General Ed, put it in there for 4F, and it did. This is going to become new and maybe a bit redefined. So it will become what's called Area F. And if you want to know more about that, next month, Frank Espinoza is hosting a webinar about the new ethnic studies requirement law. What the CSU is calling Area F. And I will actually be one of the co-hosts on that presentation. So I invite you to attend that, and then you could get a better idea what's the impact of the new ethnic studies law. And we're going to probably end up having to change this area of the box, but not yet. The dean will put information in here. This is about loading. How much of your load is this course? In this case, a 3-unit lecture course is always 0.2 of your load, or 20%. The number is put in a different manner for calculation purposes. There's a top code. Top means taxonomy of programs, and it has a number. And so it's a history course. There's also the SIP code, and I forgot what SIP stood for, but it's a coding that these are things that the dean will fill out for you after you've launched the course. Is there a material fee? Is there something that you require the students to purchase as part of the course? And generally the rule of thumb for materials fees is there has to be something tangible that the student takes away from the course. It's not just you're going to buy paper or you're going to buy a pen or something. No, that's not a material fee. Something that's required that is a takeaway from the course. Like if I'm an art teacher and I'm having them paint something, do they have to buy the materials for their painting? Yes, they do. Do they have to buy the canvas? Yes, they do. They're going to walk away with that at the end of the course. It will be a takeaway, a physical takeaway.
Or a workbook that they get and fill out.
Exactly. Or a manual or something like that they're going to take away and use in the future. Coding and dates are also more in the realm of where the dean will be. These are record keeping to some extent, but also telling you exactly how many hours you're going to teach this in a semester.
Curriculum specialist.
Curriculum specialist does this. Thank you. And implementation semester, it says when the course is this version of it comes into effect. And then
That pulls from the main page.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it pulls from the main at the front. And then this is the putting it into assist. And what it will look like in assist.
So faculty don't do anything with that.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything with these the 2 assist ones. But then when you think you've done all that stuff and you want to launch it, and there will be a button over in the corner here that says launch. I'm not doing that with this course, but you would start it off by create a proposal. Anything you're going to do to update or create a new course, you start here in this box. This is like your entry gate, and then you go. And then it'll say, do you want to write a new course? Do you want to update a course? Do you want to do SLOs? Yeah, that sort of thing. That's where this starts right here.